Good day, everyone. Let's discuss the integumentary system of farm animals. The integumentary system is actually the first line of defense of the animal's body. The skin prevents the entry of pathogens. By the way, ang pathogen pala are those organisms that will cause diseases. We have here an illustration of the skin, and there are three main layers of the skin. The outermost layer is the epidermis. Under the epidermis is the dermis layer, and underneath the dermis layer is the hypodermis. Epidermis layer is relatively thin and continuously shed dead skin cells. Nerves responsible for skin senses reach up to the epidermis layer, while the capillaries are absent in this layer. Kumbaga pa, this epidermis layer is the callo layer or the kubal na layer. The dermis layer is the thickest layer of the skin. This is the layer where sweat glands, oil glands, erector pili muscles, and hair follicles are located. Sweat gland is essential for thermal regulation in animals o yung pagkontrol ng kanilang temperature. In farm animals, sweat gland is not abundant except in horses. Since they can't rely on sweat gland for body temperature control, they rely mostly on external environment to control their body temperature. In horses, they can adapt well in hot climates because they can sweat to lower their body temperature in times of extreme environmental temperature or during an active activity. The oil also give that natural shine look in animals' skin and hair or feather. In animals where the skin looks dull and rough, most likely there are microscopic parasites living in the skin of the animal. Erector pili is a small muscle that causes the hair to stand in certain conditions. That condition is famously called goosebumps. Yun, pag tumatayo yung hair, yan yung muscles na nagko-contract para tumatayo yung hair. Under the dermis is the hypodermis. This layer is mainly composed of adipose tissue or yung mga taba-taba lang or mga fat. So we have here an illustration of a hair. So the nutrients needed by the hair to grow is supplied by the capillaries at the base of the hair follicle. The overall health of the hair is greatly influenced by the amount of nutrients transported by the blood. There are epidermal glands that are present in some domestic animal species. We have here in the picture is the infraorbital pouch in sheep. These glands secrete an oily substance that the sheep use to mark their territory. They also have another set of specialized glands in the inguinal area or yung sa singit, sa hind legs. Also, in between the digits, still in sheep, there are also specialized glands used to mark their trail. In goats, these specialized glands are located near the horns. The specialized glands are usually burned during disbudding or dehorning of goats to minimize that distinct smell of goats. They usually do that to make the goats' meat more appealing to consumers para wala masyadong very strong na amoy ng goat. In pigs, the specialized glands are located in the inner aspect of the carpal area. There are modifications in some parts of the epidermis that will rise into different organs that is beneficial to the animal. For example, hooves and horns. So yung dalawa are derived actually from the epidermis. This hoof wall will continuously grow, similar to the nail of man. Hooves of goat raised in houses are regularly trimmed because they tend to grow longer because the floor is not abrasive to trim the excessive growth. Yung goats naman that are allowed to graze There are no need for regular hoof trimming because there is constant abrasion on the hoof that maintains the length. Now, let's discuss about horns. The actual horn is the external part that we see. In the inside, there is actually a bone that makes the whole structure really strong. The horning in cattle is a bloody operation because bone has plenty of blood supply, and during the process of dehorning, kapag napuputol yan, syempre dumudugo, and usually the farmers apply hot iron to the cut surface to stop the bleeding. In keeping horned animals, it is a common practice to control the growth of the horn, primarily for safety reasons. And there are two general ways. One is the disbudding, second is dehorning. Disbudding is the removal of the horn bud. This is still the immature stage of the horn. Dehorning, on the other hand, is the removal of the actual horn kapag mahaba na yung horn pag mataas na. Dun yung tinatawag na dehorning. Now, which one is better? For me, I really prefer disbudding because it is less bloody and it is easier to control the animal because mas maliit pa yung size, so it's easier to restrain. Please take note of the shape of the frontal sinus. In young horned domestic animal, the frontal sinus hindi pa nag-e-extend to form the horn. So, advantageous talaga kapag disbudding because you don't need to cut the bone or the frontal bone ng animal. So, less bloody, easier to conduct. All you need to do is to remove this bone-forming tissue that is responsible for the growth of the horn. So, pag natanggal na to, hindi na ma-develop ngayon yung bone. Thank you.